Greetings, dear faith family, young people, parents, godparents, grandparents, and everyone present here. Greetings of our Lord's peace. Today we are looking into Mark chapter 12, verses 18 to 27. To understand today's gospel better, the context, Jesus was initially being questioned by the elders, scribes, and the chief priests in regards to his authority and with whose authority he is operating. Now, later on, they are sending the Pharisees and Herodians to trap Jesus with their questions. And now, in today's gospel passage, we are hearing the Sadducees are coming to question Jesus and trap Jesus with their questions. Now, can Jesus be trapped with any of those questions? Jesus' response amazed the listeners. And in today's gospel passage, let us once again hear Jesus' words of wisdom and the message that Jesus has in store for you and for me too. Now, in verse 18, the Sadducees, who are Sadducees, commentators say they are highly intellectual people who knew their Torah very well. Now, what is Torah? The first 5 books of the Old Testament is Torah. So they are coming to Jesus and raising a question, quoting a book from the Torah. Now, let us hear. Some Sadducees who say there is no resurrection came to him and asked him a question. Now we are hearing the Sadducees who say there is no resurrection, means they are not believing life after death, resurrection after death. So they are coming to Jesus, and in verse 19 they are asking, Teacher, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies, leaving a wife but no children, the man shall marry the widow and raise up children for his brother. Now they are bringing a scenario of a Mosaic law. Now they are quoting Deuteronomy chapter 25, verses 5 to 10, where we are hearing about Mosaic law of levirate marriage, where a man is allowed to marry his brother's widow, his dead brother's widow, who has left the widow with no children, in order to raise up children for his brother. Now, why are the Sadducees quoting a scenario from the Mosaic law and speaking about the levirate marriage situation? Let us hear further. Now, they are continuing to say in verse 20, there were 7 brothers. The first married, and when he died, left no children. The second married the widow and died, leaving no children. And the third likewise, none of the 7 left children. Last of all, the woman herself died. In the resurrection, whose wife will she be? For the seven had married her. Now look at the imaginative situation they are bringing to Jesus. And let us hear from Jesus. Jesus speaks to us in a language, in a way we will understand. Now, the Sadducees, quoting from the Torah, from Deuteronomy, the words of Moses, they are questioning Jesus with their own imaginative scenario of a woman being married 7 times and asking whose wife will she be in heaven, that is after resurrection. Now Jesus is replying to them, quoting the same from the life of Moses once again. Now in verse 24 we hear Jesus said to them, "Is not this the reason you are wrong, that you know neither the scriptures nor the power of God? For when they rise from the dead, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. And so, for the dead being raised, have you not read in the book of Moses?" Now they came to Jesus quoting the law of Moses. Now Jesus is saying here, have you not read in the book of Moses, in the story about the bush? Now Jesus is quoting Exodus chapter 3, verse 6, where God appears, God's presence is witnessed by Moses through the burning bush. So let us hear. Have you not read the book of Moses in the story about the bush? How God said to him, "I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob." He is God not of the dead, but of the living. You are quite wrong. Now, Jesus says, our God is a living God, a God of the living and not of the dead. So when God appears to Moses through the burning bush, God says, "I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob." Now, biblical scholars say God did not speak in the past tense, "I was the God of Abraham, I was the God of Isaac, I was the God of Jacob." God is not speaking to Moses in the past tense. But God is telling Moses that he is the God of the patriarchs. He says, "I am the God of Abraham. I am the God of Isaac. I am the God of Jacob." God is speaking to Moses in the present tense. And biblical scholars explain to us Jesus is teaching the Sadducees by quoting Exodus 3, verse 6, that God is speaking and saying that He is God of the living. So Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is alive, is resurrected, and their souls are with God. They are alive with God. They are living with God in communion with God. So, dear faith family, now there is a lot of richness, spiritual richness to be taken from today's gospel passage. Let us remember Jesus' death and resurrection gives us the hope for life in abundance, gives us hope for our lives in abundance, for eternity. Jesus' death and resurrection is our hope for our resurrection, for our life after death. Let us take a moment in silence and let us be in the light of Christ. And let us be with Jesus. And hear Jesus speak into your hearts. Jesus' resurrection is our hope for our resurrection after death. Now, what is it like? Jesus says that He's teaching the Sadducees when we hear in verse 25 onwards, for when they rise from the dead, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. So Jesus is teaching the Sadducees that after death, we are going to be, after death and resurrection, life after death is going to be for us like angels in heaven. Now, what does it mean to live like angels in heaven? Now, commentators teach us angels are in eternal communion with God. And while we are on earth, for the occasion of marriage, we need a companion, a loyal companion, and we were called into the occasion to procreate. Whereas in heaven, we are going to be in communion with God for eternity like angels. So Jesus is telling there's not going to be a marriage or a procreation like earthly life, but you're going to be like angels, completely in communion, completely in perfect communion with our Creator. Dear faith family, we are receiving a lot of spiritual richness from today's gospel passage. Shall we pause once again and come to our Creator in the silence of our heart? Let us be with God the Father, our Creator. God is inviting us to live our lives holy and joyful, journeying towards life in abundance for eternity. Let us take a moment, knowing that we are in the presence of our Creator. Let us ask ourselves, what have I done for Christ? What am I doing for Christ? What should I do for Christ? What is Jesus asking me to do? Wishing you a very blessed day. God bless.